This is the history of the Ford F-150. The Ford F trucks were introduced to the United States in 1948, and they were known as the Ford Bonus Built trucks. They were built on a dedicated truck platform, unlike earlier versions that were built from car chassis during the war. Ford's very first truck was built in 1917, and it was based off the Model T and named the Ford Model TT. The truck had a cargo capacity of 1 ton back in the day, which, if you can imagine, was no small feat for that era. The first generation was between 1948 and 1952. The first generation F-Series trucks carried the designations of F1 through F8. They were rated by weight as panel trucks, conventional trucks, school buses, cab-over engine, and of course the pickup truck. Each truck was equipped with a manual transmission, and they featured driver and passenger side windshield wipers and a foot plunger windshield washer. This was pretty high-tech stuff back then, as well as quite an accomplishment for Ford. To signify the importance of the Ford truck history, the 1948 F-Series line was Ford's first post-war truck, which debuted a year before Ford's first post-war car. Henry Ford shut down all civilian production during World War II in order to produce vehicles that would support our allies and our troops. When the war ended, the F-Series trucks, along with the veterans, were the first to be recognized. The second generation was between 1953 and 1956. It brought about a complete redesign for the F-Series. They received new engines, updated chassis, roomier interior and exteriors, options such as a radio, dome light, armrests, and lighter, and the series also underwent an important name change. It was during this period that the F1 became the F100, and the F2 and F3 merged to become the F250, and the F4 became the F350. A special F100 was designed as a one-year-only body style in 1956 and featured a wraparound windshield instead of a sloped one, and it offered vertical windshield pillars. This year's model also offered Ford's very rare low GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating versions of each model, and in this year, seatbelts became optional. The third generation was between 1957 and 1960. The third generation brought about a new modernized body style where the front fenders became a part of the truck's body and the hood was integrated into the bodywork to create a clamshell design that would remain a prominent feature of the truck for the next 20 years. The cab-over F-Series was discontinued and was replaced by a tilt cab C-Series that many may remember was used as a fire truck and heavy-duty delivery truck beginning in 1957. As another milestone for Ford, they began production of four-wheel drive pickups in 1959. The fourth generation was produced between 1961 and 1966. Once again, a new style emerged and the new look was noticeably different. In 1965, the twin I-beam front suspension changed everything, and it remained a part of the F-150 up to 1996. The addition of the twin I-beam allowed the front wheels to run independently of one another, giving it a greater maneuverability and a much smoother ride. An F-Series four-door crew cab model emerged in 1965 to compete with passenger cars. In 1965, Ford introduced the name Ranger to its lineup. It was previously a base model of the Edsel, and in keeping with the Edsel tradition, this too was said to be a little ahead of its time for 1965. It featured bucket seats from the Ford Mustang, detailed styling, softer suspension, and it brought sophistication to the pickup trucks of the year. The Ranger underwent many changes throughout the years, and the last one was produced in the U.S. in 2011. The fifth generation lasted between 1967 and 1972. The cab was roomier by 3 inches than that of the competitors, and the truck came with a heavier frame. New safety features were added to the exterior to include reflectors to the rear of the truck bed. This was the first generation to offer factory-installed air conditioning as opposed to dealer installation. Remember the era of the camper? It is probably safe to say that we all know someone who had a camper attached to the bed of their pickup truck back in the day. And it is probably safe to say that there are numerous stories that will be passed down from generation to generation about how great they were and all the wonderful experiences that were involved. The sixth generation would be the one that changed truck history forever. This is between 1973 and 1979. Significant changes and upgrades were given to the series that included larger cabins, front disc brakes, a relocated gas tank outside the cab, improved heating and air, and more galvanized steel. Also during this time, the four-wheel drive Super Cab made its debut. In 1975, the Ford F-150 was introduced and has since gone to become the best-selling truck ever. Now that's grounds for bragging rights. The seventh generation occurred between 1980 and 1986. This generation received the first complete redesign since 1965 from the ground up, improved aerodynamics and fuel economy, and both interior and exterior modifications were made. In 1985 saw the first year of electronic fuel injection for the 5.0-liter V8. In 1986, the F-150 no longer offered 3-on-3 manual shifting. This generation was the first to include upscale amenities such as power windows, power door locks, power mirrors, interval windshield wipers, tinted windshield, locking gas cap, inside locking hood release, and so many other options and standards were available during this new, technologically charged generation. The eighth generation was between 1987 and 1991. In the first year of this generation, better aerodynamics included a rounded front clip and softer lines around fender arches and the rear bed, and it sported an all-new interior. The first 5-speed manual overdrive transmission was introduced in 1987, and 4 speeds were discontinued. In 1989, the F-Series had been established as being the nation's best-selling vehicle. The ninth generation was between 1992 and 1996. The flare side bed was reintroduced since its retirement in 1987 as an option, and a lower hood line, more advanced aerodynamics, newly designed fenders, and grille changes and interior upgrades were notable. The 1994 models offered an updated dashboard with the addition of a driver's side airbag in the F-150. The 10th generation occurred between 1997 and 2003. This is where Ford made some major changes to its F-Series and was basically split into 2 categories. The F-150 became a contemporary personal use truck, while the F-250 and the F-350 became classified as working class trucks. The 1997 F-150 would be reintroduced with the aerodynamics given to the Ford Taurus of 1986, making it much more streamlined for a better ride and greater fuel economy. The F-150 was the first of its size to offer 4 full-size doors, and sales of the F-150 surged from 750,000 to over 900,000 in 2001. The 11th generation was between 2004 and 2008. The F-150 received an all-new platform in 2004. Also in this generation, all F-150s were given 4 doors, regardless of their cab type. The Triton engine was also introduced in this year. A navigation system became available for the first time as an option in 2006 on some models. The 12th generation F-Series was produced between 2009 and 2014. Beginning with 2009, there were many new upgrades to the interior, and the exterior featured a new 3-bar grille. A V8 engine was standard on all F-Series models for the first time in history. In early 2011, a 3.5-liter direct-injected twin-turbo EcoBoost V6 was offered in the F-150. The 13th generation ran from 2015 to 2020. Another Ford first was accomplished with the 2015 F-150 model when it became the very first pickup to receive adaptive cruise control. The Ford F-150 also underwent a radical change in 2015 by dropping 750 pounds by switching from a steel body to that of all aluminum. This was quite an accomplishment, considering nothing looked physically changed. However, the bulk of the frame remains high-strength steel. Ford says that all aluminum F-150 will be the most fuel-efficient truck ever. See, you can have your truck and drive it too. We are now at the 14th generation. 2021. The best-selling vehicle in the U.S. is familiar in style, but has a fresh face in the 2021 Ford F-150. The biggest changes are inside. The new F-150 joins the Ram 1500 in the 12-inch touchscreen club, but also has added features like a stowable gear selector to turn the center console into a computer desk. Well, there you have it, the history of the Ford F-150. Which F-150 is your favorite? We'd like to know. Leave your comments below. If you like this video, leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that bell. Again, thanks for watching.